These pictures into us from Port Charlotte, Florida. The region getting slammed by Hurricane Charley.
And Channel 4 St. Johns County Bureau Chief Phil Whitley was on the scene just moments ago when deputies from the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office took off to help hurricane victims. No word yet how long the deputies will stay there. As part of the state's mutual aid program, if the hurricane had hit here, deputies from other counties would come to our area as well.
Officers from the First Coast are doing their part to help people in the wake of Hurricane Charley. 20 officers from the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office and 2 from St. Augustine are heading to South Florida. They'll help out for 10 days in Lee and Charlotte counties, 2 of the hardest
St. Johns
hit.
County officers also headed to Southwest Florida to see what they can do. 16 deputies left around 4 to head down to Punta Gorda. The officers are expected to be there for about 10 days. Many of these deputies have been through this before, helping out with Hurricane Andrew and Opal.
This is a great mission you're going on. I really am envious. I wish I was going to be able to go with you. Hopefully I'll get to see you sometime down there. We've done a lot of preparation. You were ready to go, and I think at this point in time it's get down there and get down there safely. Remember to be compassionate and concerned and caring with these people down there. They need our help, and we can do a great job to make their lives better. One of the big things you're going to be doing is helping your brother and sister law enforcement officers in that area. You're going to also experience some kindness from the residents and from the other law enforcement officers to a great degree down there, because they are really going to be glad to see you. You take with you a great pride in previous performance, and I ask that you live up to that. I know you will, and I appreciate all of you being willing to go and do this. And ride safe, take care, be careful, and get home safe again. Take charge, Lieutenant Bryant. Yes, sir.
We decided to ride the storm out in our building so that we could keep the information that's coming through the EOC's website and TV radioed over to the secondary EOC, where we sent all of our workers. We had about 150 people in our building. We evacuated when it was upgraded to our Category 4, and about 13 of us stayed behind in my building here in our headquarters, which is only rated for a Hurricane 2, Category 2. So that was probably a bad decision, because about part of the way through the storm, our roof came off over our heads, and we had to run for safety, and ended up finding the only secure area in our building, which was an electric room that was made to secure our electric hookups, and it had a concrete wall on one side and a firewall on the other and a metal door. So all 13 of us huddled in that room and waited the storm out, and fortunately that roof didn't come off. The first thing, when the storm went out over and we were able to get out of the building, we realized how bad it was. We were not prepared for that. Of course, the first thing you lose is communications. All cellular communications, all hard phones were done, radios were intermittent. So we were working in the blind for a little bit. One of the major concerns, the first concerns we had, is we have all of our employees that are on duty that now see the destruction and realize their own homes and their own families are unaccounted for. And they are, before they can even start doing their own job, they have to know whether or not their families made it and their own homes made it, which a lot of their homes didn't make it. So we had to, as quickly as we could, facilitate getting information back from their homes on whether or not their families were okay. You can't call them, the phones were out. You can't Nextel them, you can't radio them. So we had to let employees go home first to see if their home was okay and their family was all right, if their family stayed in town. And then if we couldn't do that, because we couldn't get across the bridge. So we had to depend on the units and the officers working on the Port Charlotte side to start driving to our own employees' houses to see if their families were all right. So that was a major undertaking and a major concern. As people were trying to work, they're worried about whether they even have a home to go back to. I'll tell you that the first 24 hours is terrible. The first 48 hours is bad. The first 3 days is pretty bad, and then it starts to get better after about the 4th day. The first night, keep in mind the storm hit us at about 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Well, within 2 hours, 3 hours after the storm going through it, dark fell, and the place was destroyed. And my only asset at the first night was myself, my own agency, and the Punta Gorda Police, who had activated their own unit. So we had double shifts on when the storm hit. Double shifts, I don't care how big you are, does not provide security for the entire community that was devastated. So when we first got out of our office and started doing our assessment, we couldn't drive around very far because all the roads were blocked. And as soon as night fell, it was pretty much uncontrollable mayhem. There was no way to restore order the first night. So for the first night, everybody was pretty much on their own. Citizens were on their own. The most we could do from law enforcement is drive around with our top lights on because we had lost all electricity, all water. There was no street lights. It was pitch dark. So I had all of the officers working, driving around with their lights on, trying to help whoever they could help. We have 3 hospitals in the county. All 3 were destroyed. Their top floors were destroyed, had to be evacuated. So every ambulance coming into the town was going to the hospital to move people out of 3 hospitals. So it was a first couple of days before we could really even count on an ambulance if you called on one. Of course, we didn't have a morgue. The morgue was out. So until the middle of the second day, people who died had to stay where they were until we could get a refrigerated truck brought in to start stacking our deceased in. Keep in mind, at that point, we thought that the storm was tracking to Tampa area and that we were going to catch storm surge. We figured we were going to get about 60-mile-an-hour winds at the worst, and we were going to get a high storm surge. So we ordered evacuations of our low-lying areas, our outer islands, on all of our mobile home parks 24 hours beforehand. Thank God people listened and they left, because the storm changed from a Hurricane 2 heading for Tampa. Within 2 hours, it was a Hurricane 4 heading to us. So we had very little time to prepare after that. So we were so fortunate people listened to the first evacuation orders and didn't resist it.
We've been doing great down here. The Charlotte County deputies are really appreciative of us being down here and helping them so they can check on their homes and everything. Some of the things we've learned from not only Andrew but here is the first day that it comes in is going to be total chaos. Usually your communications, your telephone, your power, everything's going to be out. So your first day is going to be pretty much chaos trying to get everything together. Within the next couple of days, you have other departments coming in and helping. So I think one thing that we've learned is maybe to take back to the department is trying to get that first day, that first few hours, to try to make that a little bit better, that we can respond to the needs of the citizens, and taking back what equipment we may need from Road and Bridge, from the state and everything like that, to try to get areas opened up to where we can go out and help the people that need the help.
What an experience it has been, an eye-opener of what a storm can do to this place. St. Johns County has a lot of lessons to learn from down here. I don't think we're ready for the just complete, utter, total devastation, ripping out of every single utility and comfort item that we have. Food, ice, cold air, electricity, the ability to drive down the street has been taken away from these people. It's rather humbling, but also the response is awesome down here. There are law enforcement agencies from all over. We have somebody down from Illinois down here. I'm going to prepare myself for a hurricane thoroughly this time. These people, although they were prepared, a Category 4 storm, there is just no preparing for. We've got solid brick, solid block concrete buildings that have just been leveled. The places you go for normal items to exist every day have been obliterated. It's not that these people don't have gas down here, it's the gas pumps have been destroyed. So, lessons learned, prepare ahead of time.
I came down after all these years and I was pretty devastated. It's shocking to see an area that I knew so well and I was so accustomed to being around, and coming back down here and seeing all the trailer parks and the homes totally leveled down to absolute rubble. There's no way to prepare for what can happen. We can do everything we can before the storm comes to prepare, but it's the aftermath of it that we need to be ready for. I think if we can get things established beforehand as far as game plans and plans of actions, once it goes through, to immediately start relief efforts, coordinating other agencies and issues that we can come across with water, food, and every kind of assistance that we can, and get that stuff started immediately afterwards, we can probably avoid a lot of problems.
In shock of the damage that nature can cause. And some of these people, what they're living in right now, because they have nothing left, some of them don't even have a roof, they're living in tents, they're running off generators if they have them, some of them don't even have generators, and they got to start from scratch. And it's, it would overwhelm me if I was in that situation of where do I start? Start right back over, building up my life. I think we need to take this as a learning lesson, because we need to be prepared in case this does happen to us. We've been lucky the last 20, 30 years since I believe Dora was the last one to hit us, but we've been real lucky, and if it does hit us, this is what we can expect, and we need to have a good plan of action in place of how to deal with this tragedy.
A lot of destruction, a lot of depressed people. It's been a lot of the area that has been totally destroyed. A lot of people out of homes. Really sad sight. I think our biggest problem has been communications. Having communications link up with the host city and the other agencies, everybody on the same frequency. I've noticed there's been a lot of problems with the power outages, traffic signals, stuff like that. The DOT put out a bunch of stop signs at the major intersections. That's helped out a lot, so I think it's some of the things we need to think about in case we ever need it.
first impression is what they told us was nowhere close to what we actually found. There's people that we've met down here that have nothing left. We met an elderly man that was sitting on what was left of his motorhome, and it's gone. It's upside down. His shed is the only thing that survived. He has nothing left. He said his whole life was that trailer, and it's gone. There's been people that have told us about how things fly around. There's no power. There's not even place. Even when they get electricity on, which they tell us, will be in a few days or more, there's no place to hook electricity up to because there's nothing left. We have no clue how lucky we were it did not come through St. Johns County. If this had come through St. Johns County off of our coast into us, I've lived here all my life. Most likely the fort would probably be one of the only things standing in downtown St. Augustine. All the home developments we have, all the condos we have on the beaches and stuff would be oceanfront property once again, and they would all be in a coastal. If nothing else comes from this, we should understand that this could have been us, and we are not ready. We are not ready for something like this.
Could have done anything different. I would have had some sort of communication system as a backup system that we could have counted on, and we didn't have that. And I don't even know if such a thing exists, because when a storm like this comes through and rips every wire and tower down, I don't know if anybody could have provided communications for us, because emergency workers, police, fire, and everybody was pretty much on their own to just find people. But the 911 calls couldn't even come in because nobody has phones. So people in distress couldn't even call in. It was a really stressful first 48 hours. It was very. I really thank those agencies that sent assets right away before even asked. Before the sun even came up, the first agency arrived with help. And the sun came up, 2 other agencies arrived with 30 and 60 people and started helping us maintain and trying to get control on border. And it took us 4 days really to establish any kind of real order. And we put a curfew into effect right away on the second night, Saturday night, and we had to do that because